If you're thinking about starting a KDP Amazon business for this year or even 2026, it might be the worst decision that you plan on making. I'll spend the rest of this video explaining exactly why and what the alternatives are. If you have watched a lot of my content before, you may know about this, but I'll go deep into it. Now that we're creating content and we're creating actual articles and blogs to promote our ebooks on the members area, and we have that software, I do want to kind of talk about this because some people kind of fall into mass marketing media, sheep mentality, and they see, 10, 20, 100 videos on Amazon KDP. They see all these success stories and they think that the same thing is going to happen to them. It's not to say that it can't happen to you. I first want to be clear. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm a very motivational, inspired person, and I believe that you could really achieve almost anything with, proper preparation. So I'm not saying that you can't achieve anything, but what I am saying is it's exceedingly more difficult than it ever was, and it's only going to get worse and worse and worse as the years go on. But I noticed this back, maybe 8.5, maybe actually 7 years ago, to be honest with you. I first started on KDP about 9 years ago, back in 2014, maybe a little bit more than, towards the end, maybe 2015 even. But maybe even 20, I think it was 2015, so 10 years ago, roughly, depending if you want to count months or not, but who cares? Let's not worry about exact numbers. But basically, I was selling my clothing businesses, or business in this case, and it was two websites, but it was one business, and we're selling the same products across two websites. And the only thing that got me into KDP was I had an Amazon FBA store that failed. I didn't actually understand the marketplace. But when I started KDP is actually what taught me how to understand the Amazon marketplace. And then I later I later kind of boosted up my FBA account, which is Amazon Seller Central, for those who don't know, and started working on it, and then started getting sales and sold that off eventually. But my Amazon KDP account still pays me till today, and I've had it for, like I said, the good part of maybe 9 years now, maybe 10 years even, and I make roughly from like 27 to 32,000 a year. It's been dropping a little bit these past few years, but basically I get paid the same amount pretty much every year. And it started a long time ago when I was, like I said, in the process of selling/building my clothing business. I started uploading these books to KDP. And at the time, it was about powerlifting. For those who don't know, many, many years back, I was very hardcore about powerlifting. And not to make this story longer than it has to be, but essentially, I wrote those kind of books, and they kind of took off slowly. And I started doing some marketing on some powerlifting forums and bodybuilding.com and things like that. And people started buying my ebooks. Now, I only learned about the marketplace then because I actually did some marketing, got some sales, got some reviews, and then, things kind of clicked for me. I realized that it was about reviews. I learned that, sales kind of give you a jolt, with that bestseller ranking and all these kind of things. But I realized that if you do KDP, you're really just putting yourself in a hole. You're really not giving yourself a chance to truly be financially free. And let me explain, because I know a lot of people are not going to like this when I say that, but the truth about KDP is that you can't succeed dramatically, especially selling in ebooks, for like $2.99 or whatever, and you take 70% of that profit via the KDP Select program. And the reason why I say that is because my very first business was based on SEO, search engine optimization. So for me, what I did was I transferred from t-shirts into blogs and ebooks. That's exactly what I did. And I started selling ebooks on my own website, and very quickly I realized that I could sell them for any price I really wanted. It wasn't a matter of if it would sell, it's a matter of when it would sell, as long as I did the SEO, as long as I did the proper marketing. I also realized that the amount of money that I could make was dramatically more than I could ever make on KDP. And the reason why I say that is because If I was taking home 70% of $2.99 on KDP and barely getting the sales because there's so much competition on the marketplace, I could sell one ebook for the price of 10 or for the profit of 10 that I would make on KDP. So then I realized, I started going deeper into why people actually pay for ebooks. Why would somebody on earth buy an ebook to begin with? Started diving deep into the psychology, and it really came down to one thing. Do people need the answers to the problems that they have that lie within that book? Very simple. That's really all it comes down to. On Amazon, that element disappears. On Amazon, it becomes much, much more of a tumultuous experience because you're creating these books on Amazon that you're really hoping that they would make you some sort of money. And what you're doing is you're in a marketplace. So you're essentially one fish out of thousands. And the customer looks at your product compared to all the others, and it's like, okay, the only thing that truly differentiates, other than a title and a book cover and all these kind of things, is truly the amount of reviews you have, and maybe if you could rank a little bit higher in the algorithm. That's really the only thing that truly differentiates you. And you can ask yourself, okay, how can I differentiate myself? Well, I can get a bunch of people to buy my book, and I can pay them to buy it, and I can pay them to give them good reviews. Even though it's against TOS, you can do that, and people do that. And it works, but over time, somebody else is just going to grow past you. Part of the reason why people get like these bestseller books on Amazon and things like that is because they do so much hardcore marketing. They have a raving fan base that they go buy the product, they give the 5-star review, and then that book kind of ranks and outweighs its competition. But I did notice that sometimes, like for other competitors, when they would create certain ebooks, if they were like kind of brand new and they had a low budget, right, to promote the ebook, and they would get like maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 reviews, somebody would see that niche. And if it was a profitable niche, they would just literally copy the same niche, maybe hire somebody off Fiverr or whatever to create an ebook that was just as good quality, and then buy 50 reviews, 100 reviews, and then they're kind of waiting for that investment to pay back over time. There's easily, tons of software out there to determine what books sell and what books don't. That's why I say Amazon KDP, you're not playing on a fair ground, and it's just way, way too much competition to be able to hold up to the standard of getting consistent organic sales. And I'm not talking about what Amazon used to be. Now, there are a lot of people listening that have maybe consistent sales every single day on KDP, and that's a good thing. But you have to realize that the reason why they have consistent sales today potentially could only be down to two things. It could be because of past sales and past positive reviews. That's number one. Or number two, it's because they found a niche that other people have not yet found, and there has to be a demand for. So then I hearkened onto that second thing, which is finding a niche that people really don't know too much about, and then serving the audience that has problems in that niche. And I said, okay, if I could do it on Amazon, then I could do it on any other website. People use Google, typically, as the very first search engine to find solutions to problems. So that's kind of when I created websites, and then I already knew how to do SEO because I did it with my clothing business, and that's how the journey kind of started for me. So I want to share, and I want to go into why I don't use Amazon to sell ebooks. The first thing, like I said, and I kind of went over this, is I have an Amazon KDP account. I generate money every single year, every single month, pretty much on autopilot for the last 7 years. And it's, like I said, been going down slightly, but the only reason why I'm holding my position still and still relatively making money in the algorithms is because I have the reviews from years ago, and those reviews kind of create a foundation for me, and then they create more and more sales over time. The second thing is power. Power is the reason why I don't sell on the Amazon marketplace. And I'm not sure if I wrote this somewhere else, and I'm looking at a piece of paper right now as I'm talking about this, but when you sell on a marketplace where there's other people selling the same thing, from a psychological aspect, you have almost no power. Like I said, there's very little to differentiate you. And, business or making money online, whatever you want to call it, is very much a chess game. You have to always make the best move on the table for yourself. And for me, I look at the situation, I say, okay, what is the number one reason why people sell on KDP. It doesn't come down to the market size. It comes down to they don't know how to do marketing for themselves. That's really what it comes down to. And so people start there. And then over time, they learn how to play the KDP game, which is reviews, which is sales, which is, all that kind of stuff. So they learn how to play that game, and then eventually they either get good at it or they don't, right? And they kind of are, they squander that time and they move into obscurity. However, when you own your own website, right, and you create a book on your own website and you sell it, there is no marketplace. That book is the only solution to that visitor's problem or that customer's problem. Now, assuming you have the right copywriting, assuming you know how to generate traffic, all those things, can easily be done, which is why if you look at some of my videos, and I'll put some on screen as we speak right here, right now, and let me kind of see. We're 10 minutes into the video. On the screen right now, you'll see some of my sales proof, some of my sales charts. I've generated hundreds of thousands, and that's not an exaggeration, hundreds of thousands selling ebooks. And I've sold ebooks about treadmills. I've sold ebooks about construction stuff like how to build French drains. Those are the two common examples that I give when I talk about, my ebook business. But I've sold stuff on mental health. I've sold stuff in all kinds of different categories. I had an ebook on herbology that did really, really well. I've had so many websites and sold so many ebooks I can't even count. But at the end of the day, these things help people solve their problems. That's why they purchase. So if the person comes across my ebook because they have a legitimate problem, and I assure them through my website copy that I can solve their problem with my ebook, then they're going to purchase it. And that opens the door to me to charge more for that ebook. Instead of charging $2.99 for an ebook, like kind of what people do on Amazon, $2.99, $7.99, basically from 99 cents to $9.99, so that they could stay in that KDP Select program and get 70% of the profit. In order for them to do that, they're really kind of shortchanging themselves. I talked about this before, but if I'm offering a solution to a problem that nobody else is offering, I can charge $100 for the ebook. I could charge $127, $149, maybe add some bonuses, things like that. But in general, I can charge that price and have 199% profit margins. Now, you can't really do that on Amazon unless you want to take 30% profit, and even then you won't sell. Why? Because when somebody comes across your ebook and they see a $149 ebook versus a $7.99 ebook, they say, okay, well, the risk here is what? I could spend $149 and do nothing with it, or I could spend $7.99 and do nothing with it. I'd rather spend $7.99 and do nothing with it. And so that's what they do. I'm not saying, once again, that KDP isn't good. KDP is good, and it certainly has a game that could be played and could be good at. If you learn how to play the game of KDP, you could learn how to make a lot of money over time. But like I said, very early on, I figured out that I want to be able to do less work and make more money. If Amazon KDP was capped at the amount of people that could join, then it kind of would make sense for me to stay there because they have so much attention and so much, eyeballs on their website. But if I know how to generate attention and I know how to charge any price I want for an ebook, well, that means for every one ebook that I sell on my website, I can generate hundreds of sales, or maybe not hundreds, but 50, 20, 30, whatever number is amount on KDP. And with the way my sales are, right, I don't think that I can generate that many sales on Amazon KDP unless I kind of reinvigorate these promotional platforms and things like that. So I don't see a future for myself on KDP. I don't think I ever will. Even though it's good for attention, it's good for YouTube to make a whole bunch of videos on KDP and get a whole bunch of subscribers, it's nonsense to me. It's not something I would waste my time doing, because the same amount of energy and time that I invest into KDP, I can invest into my own website with my own books and make 100 times more money, 50 times, 40 times, and that's not, like I said, not an exaggeration. So, yeah, that's really what it comes down to.